okay, I consent to being recorded. And let's see, Julie, are you going to pop up the slides? Good thing about doing it this way is that I don't have to yell at everybody to not do the sign out in the room. We can go immediately over to the schedule. Just back up just for a second, just to the agenda. We've just got a couple of items. We're just a few comments and accolades, followed by an update from Doug on where we stand at the first half of the year, brief research update, and a brief wellness update. Let me just say that the impact of COVID and the second wave continues to be felt, obviously, in many different ways. One of the critical issues is how it's impacting our ability to deliver broad surgical services, and Doug will show you the recovery that we've made and sort of set us up for how we see the second half of the year shaping up for us. These things are all end up being important as we head into the FY22 budget season, and we need to, continue to hit our targets in order to be able to afford the recruitments and the investments that we want to make in all those other areas. So let me let's go shift to the faculty news and accolades. There's a lot of these, and we will hand these out or circulate these afterwards by email. But I think the promotions are important. We had two of our faculty who reached the rank of professor, Dr. Taraga and Dr. Baker. Congratulations. We had three faculty make associate professor, Dr. Bethany Slater in pediatric surgery, Dr. Zengui in OHNS, and Dr. Babrowski in vascular surgery. Congratulations, those are really great and well-deserved accomplishments. Also in our research faculty, Dr. Sonia Hernandez and Dr. Li Shen both received their promotions to research associate professor. We sent an announcement out earlier in the year about Dr. Rogers becoming the inaugural James Bowman Junior Professor of Surgery in the Biological Sciences. That's an amazing accomplishment, not only because of how well Dr. Rogers deserves it, but the importance of having a Bowman Professorship in the Biological Sciences Division to recognize the accomplishments of Dr. Bowman and his impact not only on the University of Chicago, but nationally as well. And Dr. Lee, who has been the Paul and Aline Russell Professor of Surgery for many years, now was promoted to a distinguished service professorship, which sort of deepens the recognition and the significance of his of his contributions to the University of Chicago. So congratulations, Raphael. Next slide. There's a number of these that are listed. The top docs rollouts are sort of bizarre this year. They just did a few of the different clinical areas in the January issue, and my understanding is that they're going to do several over the course of the year for the other specialties. But of the ones that were announced, at least in Chicago Magazine, we're as usual had many of our faculty recognized. And I think the only thing that's more remarkable about the faculty that were recognized is the amazing faculty that didn't get recognized, who are equally deserving of those accolades. These are all sorts of funny systems, as you know. Next slide. Cardiac surgery, Dr. Oda was named to NIH study section. Congratulations. Next. In colorectal surgery, Ben Shogan got his K08. That was funded, really a major accomplishment. Any new NIH grant is important in the department, but particularly a career development award like a K08. Congratulations, Dr. Shogan. Next slide. In general surgery, we've got books that are being written. We've got by Dr. Vigdeswar and Dr. Alberti, another in our continuing series of our difficult decisions that Mark Ferguson had launched a number of years ago, and new volumes keep coming out there. Dr. Rogan, Academy of Master Surgical Educators, Dr. Koitkin, new research grant from the North American Society of Neuroendocrine Tumors, and a number of accolades for presentations and invited panelist spots. Next slide. We mentioned many of these already, the top doctor notes. We have Dr. Agarwal being named to NCI steering committee, and new books published by Dr. Gluth. Next slide. In pediatric surgery, very important to recognize that Dr. Kandel was named president-elect of the American Pediatric Surgical Association. That is the highest honor that a pediatric surgeon can get in the United States. Congratulations to Dr. Kandel. We all know that that was extremely well deserved. Dr. Slidell was named chair of the research committee for pediatric trauma. And a number of other state appointments. Dr. Slater was appointed to the executive board of the International Pediatric Surgery Endosurgery Group and has a new editorial board position. Next slide. In plastic surgery, a new research grant to Dr. Hansen. Congratulations to Dr. Wang for being board certified in plastic surgery. Dr. Gottlieb received the Excellence in Teaching Award, and Dr. Bauer named to Castle Connolly Top Doctor Award. Next slide. In thoracic surgery, new research grants again. Lucia Madriaga was awarded an innovation grant, and she continues to be remarkably productive in research as well as clinical activities. Next slide. In transplant, congratulations to Angie Perez, who has joined our faculty as clinical associate. Next slide. Dr. Williams, you saw the announcement that went out yesterday, successfully applied on our behalf to start an ACGME fellowship in surgical critical care that will be starting this summer. It was a great work and something that we really are going to benefit from both clinically and educationally. Next. In urology, Dr. Gandetti published a new book as well. The amount of textbooks that are coming out of the department is really impressive. And we had the top doctor recognitions. Next slide. And I think that's it. I'm going to turn it over to Doug, who is going to pop through some slides just showing our trends towards our recovery of volumes and how this is setting us up for the second half of the year and some challenges that we want to address. Go ahead, Doug.
Thank you, Jeff. Julian, if you could move forward to the next slide. We're going to start really quickly with on-site case summary, just to take a look at where we are. Clearly, we have these data points outlined by section, and if you take a look at, sorry about that, I'm getting a phone call. Sorry about that. If you take a look at our the way that we're evaluating this, you can see that the trending is clearly appropriate, and we're continuing to grow as a department even in the time of COVID. We finished December with about just over a 15% positive variance from budget. Keep in mind that our budget variance is also based on a revised target that we adjusted after we knew about the COVID pandemic starting. And so we also have the variance from prior year in here. And you can see we're pretty close to functioning at about the same level we were last year. A couple of points that I think need to be pointed out. You can see clearly that a few of the areas where we are strongly ahead of both last year and budget are in the areas of emergency medicine or trauma or pediatric trauma. So clearly the rest of our elective practice is not recovered at the same level pre-pandemic. That's, I think, the key point. You can move on. This is a more graphical view at it, and I think the key point here is that in many of the weeks that have transpired during this fiscal year, we have achieved our original budget, And you can also see that there's a slight tapering off here towards the end of the year. A lot of that is natural and consistent with previous years because of the holidays and reduced days of OR time. But there's also another impact that's impacting this, and that had to do with a little bit of bed availability and transfers. Jeff, I don't know if you wanted to speak to that or not, but we're hoping that some of those issues that have been preventing us from getting cases on have been mitigated at this point.
Obviously, the beds are being very stressed by the current COVID numbers, which are starting to tail back off now. We're down to about half of what we were in November in terms of COVID inpatients, but clearly impacted not only by bed availability, but some staffing issues in the OR as well. We expect those to continue to recover. The next 3 to 4 weeks may be a little bit tricky with the unpredictability of what the numbers are going to do in Chicago and nationally. But we understand that, and so does the institution, that there's a dynamic between how much we are able to do because of beds and the ability or inability to make transfers versus what we're expected to do. And we understand that dynamic.
Yeah. And definitely working to mitigate it. I mean, it's top of mind, top of discussion in all peri-op meetings that we've been having recently. So overall, quite positive, quite good. I think as a department, we're doing very well from a case volumes. This also translates into visits, which I believe are next. No, it's actually access is next. Julian, if you can move forward. Jeff asked that we bring this, we put this slide up. This is a slide that gives you an indication by area whether or not we're meeting the demands of the patients by being able to get by percentage how many of our patients, new patients, are actually getting an appointment within 14 days. This is not the end-all be-all of metrics around patient access, but it clearly is an indicator, and it is something our organization looks at. And as you can see, over the course of the last year, clearly the department has improved across many, many, many areas, and we're continuing to work towards improving getting patients into the system as quickly as we possibly can. There's some areas where we're still going to do some work. I know template management, governance is coming back to top of mind in the ambulatory areas, and so we'll be hearing more about that in the coming months. But overall, I would say this is a great job and a great example of our department really working to get our patients in. Next slide, please. Obviously, total visits are up as well. You don't get cases without visits. And if you take a look at where our variance is, we're about 3% up on total visits overall. It's probably not fair to consider new consult volume down. That's not actually true. They're rolled up into those numbers that are listed down there under telehealth or phone visits. And so clearly, the department is doing a really good job of getting a lot of patients through the system. And we've definitely seen a shift to e-visits during the time of the pandemic, which is really lightening up at this point. Next slide, please. By location, this is important just to understand as we start to expand services to various new clinical destinations within our system, how we're actually doing as a comparison. The data all adds up to the same information on the previous slide, and we'll share this information with all of you once the presentation's done. I'm not sure if there are any questions about any of this. There still are some opportunities there. We have lots of opportunities, we believe, to grow and build in River East. Silver Cross has continued to expand. Orland Park continues to grow. And we're hopeful to continue to see that offsite expansion in the remainder of this fiscal year. Next slide, please. Just a quick update on payer mix. This is not something that most of us look at on a day-to-day basis. Most of the surgeons clearly aren't apprised of what's happening, but if you take a look at our trending over the last few fiscal years, our private mix has declined. But what's really interesting and really unbelievable is that as of fiscal 21 and 20 and all year to date, and this is November data, not to December, unfortunately, we're sort of gaining some traction back on increasing the private mix. Some of that's driven by our offsite expansion and establishing new practice locations in higher payer mix areas. And this clearly has a positive impact on revenue collection and the overall economic health of our organization. So thank you all for that work that you're doing as we continue to expand. And that is the last slide. Jeff, do you want to have questions or comments?
just want to comment that, among the issues here is that just want to sort of keep everybody abreast on how we're doing, and the message that we are hearing from the institution, and the message that I want to convey to you is that the role that the Department of Surgery specifically has played in the recovery of the institution is recognized and appreciated. We've been doing unbelievably well as a department. We always want to continue to push to do more, because everything that we want to do, every program that we want to grow, requires the resources to be able to invest in that, and the resources come from the success of the overall institution. The importance of our offsite strategy to increase our geographic reach and our payer mix is critical, because we know how important it is to our department to be able to provide care for underserved populations in our local community and on the South Side. And the way that we're able to do that is by the balance between what we do locally versus what we do regionally in terms of payer mix. So Dr. Skelly asks, is there a discrepancy for Medicaid in the department? We see these patients, but other medical services will not accept Medicaid, which makes care difficult. Yeah, this is a more complicated issue than we probably have time to discuss, but reflects issues related to primary care and managed Medicaid, and the sort of instructions that we're getting from the institution and from the county around where primary care should be delivered. There are a lot of efforts going on right now, led by Tom Jackowitz, our hospital president, to create a new truly integrated Southside health strategy that will hopefully address some of these complicated managed Medicaid enrollment issues, and where these patients can be cared for. But yeah, it's a fair point. Other questions? Other comments? Okay, why don't we go on? Janine and John are gonna just update us briefly on some research items.
Thank you, Jeff. So I just first want to say at the outset that our research efforts remain strong. To date, we have a number of new faculty, as Jeff pointed out, and we have a lot of funding opportunities. The number of submitted grants has been strong. The number of publications through the COVID crisis has been strong, even though most of the wet labs are still remaining in the zone of about 50% allowable, personnel in the lab at any time. We still remain highly productive, highly visible, and if submissions of grants by new faculty is any gauge, we're certainly remaining in a very strong position there. So we want to celebrate that, and as many of you know, we were unable to have Huggins last year due to the COVID crisis and pandemic, and so we're going to have it this year virtually. It will be the 28th Annual Charles Huggins Research Symposium. It will be held Wednesday, March 31st. From 12:30 to 5 p.m. There'll be a call for the abstracts either today or tomorrow, hopefully today, and please pay attention to that. Assemble your abstracts because they'll be due on February 9th. And we're very fortunate to be able to secure our keynote speaker, Dr. Jonas Stulberg, who is from Northwestern, a distinguished figure in the field of health services and outcome research, as you all may know. Northwestern and their group with Carlo Moria, their connection to the American College of Surgeons, and their training of young faculty through the American College of Surgeons and other granting tools that they have within their institute is very strong, one of the strongest in the nation, and And Dr. Stulberg was fortunate enough to be able to be available for us to have him participate in Huggins. And so we will try to focus our Huggins around this idea of building centers for health services and outcomes research. And I think that's all I want to say for now, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Grohar.
Thanks, John. So the purpose of this slide basically is to show everyone that we're trying really, really hard to get staff in to support your research. I'm hopeful that by the end of the week, I'm able to hire about 4 coordinators. We were doing pretty well, lost somebody, and 2 of my staff are really doing a lot of work to kind of maintain what we've been trying to do for the last year. So I wanted to thank them for that. But that's pretty much it. Danielle Lamparello is our new grant manager. I'm sure all of you have met her. If you have not, please let me know and we can do introductions. A lot of this is not yet final, so if we cannot talk about that until I know for sure that things have been approved with the BSD. But that pretty much is it.
Yeah, I think the larger context here being that we have heard from faculty about the importance of increasing our capacity to work through new grant opportunities and new trial opportunities, and we need to be able to staff with sufficient capacity so that we can handle all of the requests even before the grants are awarded and come in. So we're trying to get ahead of that with lots of new investments in our research infrastructure. So this should really help.
Jeff, I want to point out that within the last 3 days, I've been told that about 3 coordinators are going to be put on some grants, which I think is fantastic. So the minute I know that that's happening, we're trying to make sure that we're ahead of the game, that if we know we're going to get funding, to make sure that we have the staff that we need to be able to support them.
Great.
And I've noticed that some of the positions that we've requested are actually getting approved, Janine. So it looks like we're moving in the right direction for this recruitment. So thank you for the work and continuing to push in this area.
Great. Any questions or comments from faculty about this? In the chat, Dr. Angelos, I think he just sent it to the panelists, so not everybody saw it, but he was thanking everybody for the support that the research team has been providing. Any questions for Janine or John? And if not, we'll move on to our last agenda item. Peter, are you going to update us on wellness initiatives?
Yep. Thanks very much, Jeff. Are you all able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. So just a brief update. Next slide. So first of all, I just wanted to mention that, in the context of professional development, there's certainly challenges that I think many of the faculty feel, especially when it comes to being more engaged with various surgical societies, especially when there are no meetings in person. And so in an effort to try to come up with some strategies to make the most of the current situation, we're going to be planning some upcoming Zoom sessions, and I'm going to be working with Dr. Alberti on this. These will be for assistant professors, separate one for associate professors. And really the idea will be to share some ideas about, how to move forward, how to ensure that people feel that they're making progress as the months go on, and as, things hopefully will get better, but we'll see. But I'll be sending out some details and invitations on that in the upcoming days. Next slide. So in terms of wellness initiatives, I did want to mention that there are a number of wellness programs that are being put forth by the institution. And I was actually just walking through the lobby yesterday, and this one flashed up. This was a Zoom wellness musical series. It happened to be yesterday afternoon, and so I have no idea if it was good since I was in the OR, but do, keep your eyes open for these opportunities, because different things will appeal to different people. And I think, trying to avail ourselves of all that's out there will be helpful. Next slide. There is a planned GME Resilience Week, and this is January 25th through 29th, so coming up shortly. And I do want to emphasize that this is a series of programs that is focused on both resident and faculty well-being. So I think for many people, you see, oh, it's a GME program, it's for our residents or for our fellows, but this really is designed for residents and faculty. A couple of the highlights I'll note, and this is readily accessible on multiple websites, but there are morning Zoom yoga sessions for those who enjoy yoga from 6 to 7 a.m. And then there's a series of noontime daily lectures on a number of topics and some really outstanding speakers. So I would encourage you to look for those if you have the opportunity. Next slide. I did want to re-emphasize the BSD Faculty Engagement Task Force, and I think we all received an email about this yesterday. So just to reinforce, the BSD Office of Faculty Affairs and Dr. Jay Pinto is leading a process to identify faculty areas for improvement. So this is what's referred to as the Faculty Engagement Task Force. So this involves representatives from the Medical Staff Office, the Office of Faculty Affairs, and then departmental representatives. So it really does span all of the clinical departments. And the goal is to seek active input from faculty to create a supportive environment that allows us all to meet our professional goals, our clinical duties, and our academic aspirations. And so, obviously Jay is in our department and is leading this effort. I'm the departmental representative to this group. So if you have ideas, suggestions, please communicate those to Jay and or to me. Because we'd love to hear what people think we could do to make it a better place to be a faculty member and take care of patients. Next slide. So the last thing that I'll end after this slide, I just wanted to acknowledge that, prior to the pandemic, we had some plans for, a faculty retreat and a number of social activities to increase our the level of community within the department. And we can't do those things as readily now. We can do things on Zoom, but it's just not the same. And so I do want to say that it is sometimes challenging in the winter in Chicago. For those of us who have been here for many years, that January and February tend to be a little bit dark, and if you don't have the ability to have the usual social interactions, it can be difficult. So I would just like to make say out loud what I think many people know already, which is that this is a real time for us to look to supporting one another. And this really does include not only faculty, but our residents, fellows, and students. And you know, I think that it's a challenging time for many. There's a lot of stresses on a lot of people for many different reasons. And I would encourage you to, you know, take that extra minute to support each other. And if anyone feels particularly challenged, I would certainly love to have the opportunity to talk with you. And so please consider my door to be open, and let me know how I can help. I know that there are so many members of the department that feel similarly. I think there's a great group of section chiefs who are very interested in supporting their faculty, residents, and fellows. You know, please reach out to each other, and if there's anything that I can do from the departmental point of view, please do let me know. So that's all that I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Are there any questions or comments on the topic of wellness or faculty development that anybody would like to raise for Peter? Any open issues that anybody would like to raise to the broader department? Any questions? Okay, question, something just popped up. How are we doing with vaccinations? I don't have department specific data, Vivek, to know. I think we are actually supposed to be getting that soon. But I haven't seen department level vaccination data. I think overall we've been getting the updates on that. I think we've been doing extremely well as an organization, where there have been the overall rate of vaccination for the tier 1 group I heard was around 80% or so. Most of those holdouts are not physicians, not in the departments. But they're in the nursing and some other ancillary areas. But I haven't seen any recent updates on that. And we don't have any information yet about rollouts to the general population, particularly to our community. Other questions? All right, well, I want to thank everybody for their continued dedication and working through these next couple of months and the last few months, you know, which has been sort of the long tail of this pandemic, are going to be hard, because we've gone through the major stresses and we want it all to be over. But we still have this few more weeks and months to start to see the impact of the public health initiatives on getting life back to normal. So I echo what Peter says about being there to support each other and to make it through. I think by the second half of the year, it'll feel normal again. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody.